Good evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Barstool Talks with Dr. Char. We're still continuing on with our fear series. So this episode is titled Fear Wearing Other Masks. Some of us have been fighting the wrong thing. We've been trying to fix behaviors without realizing what's behind them. Because fear rarely shows up alone. It hides behind other struggles. Romans 8:15. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. That's the King James Version. Fear is not just something you experience. It's something that partners with other patterns to stay hidden. Fear doesn't always introduce itself. It disguises itself. So I've got 6 talking points, or 6, let's say, ways that fear hides itself. And we're going to go through each of these. The fear of rejection. You'll get people pleasing, and sometimes you'll get not telling the truth in a really extreme way without actually saying the word, not telling the truth, telling an untruth, or outright lying. Fear of rejection will make you abandon truth to maintain acceptance. It looks like saying what other people want to hear instead of telling the truth. Avoiding disagreement or changing yourself to fit in. Not being the true you. Being who the crowd wants you to be. Groupthink. Acceptance. Or small lies to avoid conflict. You're not being nice. You're trying not to be rejected. Fear of lack. You'll get greed or hoarding. Fear tells you there won't be enough, so you hold tighter. It looks like overworking out of anxiety, and I am so guilty of that. Before I got diagnosed with the ADD and, the generalized anxiety disorder and the insomnia. Before I got diagnosed with that, I was diagnosed with that in 2006 or 2007, I think early 2007, while I was still in the military. Before I was diagnosed with that, I just considered myself to be a type A personality person. I couldn't be so further from the truth. It was categorized as type A because, I was always working. Everything had to be dress right, dress. There were very little room for error, because we were in charge of people's pay, their benefits, just things like that can affect a livelihood. So, hey, there was no room for error, but now looking back on it, it was the spirit of fear. Fear of failing. Fear of, I guess, not being accepted or maybe appreciated if I mess someone's pay up. That's one thing you just don't want to do. That seems like a terrible thing to do, although we're humans and sometimes mistakes happen. And most people are forgiving, if you remedy things right, but it's just a fear. So those of you who are claiming type A personalities, you might want to get checked, because, so many years of being in that state of heightened, or overwork, or whatever you want to call it, hyperactivity wears on your heart. So I know I might sound like I'm trying to be smart, but no, get yourself checked. Get checked. Things can be out of whack in the brain just like they're out of whack in every other system in the body. Big Pharma has medication, and so does the medical marijuana growers. They grow certain strains for that. These are not your old time street dealers. These are people that have been licensed by the states where they can practice. And they have certain rules and, things like that before they can actually sell their stuff in these stores, these licensed stores. They have pharmacists in these stores. At least the ones I go to, they're pharmacists. And for me to even get a medical marijuana license, I have to see a doctor. 30-minute visit per year. Medical doctor. Or what do you call them? Licensed practitioner, not nurse or something. So take care of yourself. It's not type A personality. It might be something else that may require treatment, whether it's counseling or, cognitive behavioral therapy or medication. And they do have medications to treat that. Okay. Now we're talking about the fear of lack. Okay. Fear tells you there won't be enough, so you hold on tighter. What it looks like: overworking, struggling to give to others or to trust. It also looks like holding on to things just in case. I'm also guilty of that. But I'm so glad that I did. Because I had held on to paper copies of my medical records when I left the military. It shows all the things that, I get VA disability for that were diagnosed. And I'm glad I did hold on to the paper copies, which I have, because my medical records were changed last year to remove some of my real stuff and put some other stuff in there. It's kind of crazy, but hey. Or constant worry about provisions. Am I going to have enough? Fear of lack will also cause you to do other things. Now, I'm looking at this from a standpoint of some people in need and feeling like they have no other way but to commit a crime. Because it's a fear of not being able to achieve. Right? That also goes along with the fear of hoarding. Fear of lack. If you don't feel you measure up, you don't feel you can achieve what others around you have achieved. So it might make you do some things that are unethical. So we need to really think about the things that we do, our behaviors, and why we're doing them, to fix them. It's not just about pointing fingers at one another or at ourselves. It's about finding a solution to these things before it gets out of hand. It's not always wisdom. Sometimes it's fear of not having enough. Okay, the third talking point, fear of loneliness, will incur toxic attachments. Fear will make you stay where you're not valued just to avoid being alone. It looks like staying in unhealthy relationships. Just watching some of the different movies. I used to be a Lifetime movie person, watch a lot of the dramas and stuff. Because I don't want to talk about real people, even though this is going on for real in real life. People stay in abusive relationships, whether they're just verbal abuse, psychological abuse, emotional neglect. They stay in these toxic relationships because the culture, whatever culture, a lot of cultures, this is standard across all cultures, that you need to stay in a toxic relationship, especially if it's a marriage, despite the person not making an effort to meet you halfway. That is unhealthy. And anyone that tells you that you must stay in an unhealthy relationship based on biblical reasons, it's not telling you the truth. They're not telling you the whole truth. And I think I said this in one of my earlier videos. Jesus came to give us life and to give us life more abundantly. He also came and he stated he came to fulfill the law. The law doesn't exist anymore. He is the law. The bill of divorcement that Moses permitted back during his time period was a law that was put in place because, like I said, people were divorcing people for minor things like burning dinner or not taking care of cattle or things like that, not out of things that would cause divorce. So Moses had to come up with rules to stop it. Not because it was this big deadly sin. It was out of control. And that was not what God intended the institution of marriage to be. So Moses put laws in place. You cannot get a divorce except for adultery, different things like that. To stop burning the food, divorcing for burning the food. And I say this to say, Jesus fulfilled that law, so that law is no longer existent. And Jesus does not want anyone to live in torment. Now, if you have tried, and all parties have tried, and are willing to try to put effort into this relationship, then by all means, yeah, and you both want that, yes. I'm not telling anybody just get up and leave the person you're with. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying those that are unequally yoked, that the efforts are not on both parts. You got one party requesting, practically begging the other party to go to counseling. But there's always an excuse. No. Or one party is just, very toxic to the other party. And that party is undeserving of that treatment. But there's no request or not request. There's no effort to want to go to counseling to fix it. You don't have to stay in that. Nobody has to stay in that. If anybody tells you Jesus says you should stay in that, they're not speaking about the Jesus in heaven, the one that rose. I'll tell you that. He does not want people to stay in torment. And some marriages, if they're unequally yoked, are toxic attachments. That's why if you've given your life to the Lord, and I'm talking to the young folks now, if you've given your life to the Lord and you are waiting for your kingdom spouse, be it your kingdom wife or your kingdom husband, and God has put it in your spirit that your kingdom spouse is coming soon, ask the Lord to pick them for you. Or actually, the Lord will probably tell you, let me pick them. That's what the Lord told me last year. When he told me I was free from the other marriage, I asked him, I said, do I still get a kingdom spouse, Lord? Because I've been praying for a kingdom spouse for years. Matter of fact, over 30 years, I had been praying for a kingdom spouse that was equally yoked. And he said, you have to let me pick him. And for the first time, I let the Lord pick him. And I trust the Lord's judgment, despite what anybody's going to say or think. I trust the Lord more than I trust anybody else. And I'll leave it at that. But young folks, you got to let the Lord pick them. Pick her, pick him. And women, young ladies, the Bible says the man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Do not chase. I don't care what Hollywood shows. I don't care what social media says. I'm telling you the way of the Lord and the way to a man's heart, to his heart, not to his pocket, is to let him choose you. And God will put it in his heart who is your spouse. He will choose you. Do not chase. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. I actually have my director of women's ministry do something on that. We've got some stuff coming up here soon, people. We really do. Trust me on that. Also, the fear of loneliness will make you settle for less than you deserve. It'll make you ignore red flags. If he pops you once, or if she slaps you once in the beginning, they'll slap you again. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nobody should be putting their hands on anybody else. Nobody. Woman to man, or man to woman, or woman to woman, man to man. Nobody should be slapping anybody. Those are unhealed wounds that you need to heal before you put yourself in a relationship with someone. If you have a tendency to slap people, or hit people, or call people by their name for no reason, because you're angry, those are unhealed wounds that you need to find a way to heal. My recommendation is through the Lord Jesus Christ. He heals you miraculously and so fast that people doubt that you are really saved and converted. And I could care less. When the Lord comes through and he has a mission for you, especially if you've already given your life to the Lord and you just kind of fell under some type of stupid spell or something like that, he is quick to redeem you when you wake up. And that's exactly what happened to me. I went to sleep for 3 years because I started letting the love of money that I had invested in that house take over. And I took my problems out of the Lord's hands. He would have delivered me and would have made sure I got everything fairly. But I took it out of his hands. Yep, so. Next. It will also make you over-tolerate mistreatment, whether it's verbal, physical, psychological. Psychological mistreatment can be ostracizing you, neglecting you, ignoring you. That's detrimental to your emotional well-being. It's detrimental to your health. And they're doing it on purpose because they have unhealed wounds. And I suggest if you have unhealed wounds, do not get yourself in a relationship if they're to the point where you cannot control yourself. You're slapping people or calling people out of their names and you just cannot control it. Get some help before you put that on someone else. That is not God's intention for marriage. It is to serve his kingdom, not tear down one another. Okay. You are not in love. You are afraid to be alone. That is what the fear of loneliness will project. Our next talking point. Fear of exposure will cause hiding and cause deception. Fear of being seen will make you hide who you really are. You can be a super talented individual. You go into a certain office environment or so, say a new job or something, and you're pretty upbeat. But the environment is very laid back, and that is the culture that they have, they have developed amongst the people that are there. And they're all satisfied with it. But that's just not your style. I mean, you try to fit in. You don't cause any ruckus or anything like that. But you are naturally upbeat or naturally a go-getter. And when they see that, the other people see that, they look at you as trying to outdo them or trying to go outside the norm, outside the group think, outside the culture that they have developed. But you're actually not. You're just being you. But because you are rejected by the group, you shrink yourself so that you can fit in. Does that sound familiar? Don't shrink yourself. Be who you are. If you don't fit in, just, look for another job. I know they're hard to come by now. But don't apologize for being who you are. You just don't show those, your excitement and your feelings about certain projects or whatever to those that aren't interested in hearing it. But do not neglect who you are. You'll lose yourself. And God made us the way we are for certain reasons. And it's for his kingdom. Don't lose yourselves. Okay, what it looks like: coverings, mistakes instead of owning them. Yep. You will hide something, tell a little fib, but then you'll have to tell another fib to cover that fib. And it's an ongoing, never-ending process. So Tell the truth. Just tell the truth. It's so much easier and a lot easier to keep up with. You only got one story to keep up with, the truth. It'll make you avoid vulnerability. You don't want to be seen. You won't be vulnerable. Whether that's in work relationships, partner relationships, family relationships. Failure to wanting to be vulnerable sometimes may cause a rift. I'm guilty of that. Especially if you've been hurt. You know, we have a tendency to protect ourselves. We want to protect our hearts. That's an automatic response. We do not want to see ourselves in pain. You know, and if you do want to see yourself in pain, then I suggest going to get some treatment or something, because that is not right. You should not want to suffer. You should not want to see anyone else suffer. Those are not right thinkings. You especially should not want to see yourself in pain. It also makes you create a perfect image of yourself, one that you will not be able to keep up with. It takes effort. It takes a lot of work to pretend to be somebody else. You have to keep up with what you said to a certain party, a group of people, and then what you said to the other group. If you're playing several roles, you'll have to keep up with the personality or persona that you created. Because if you let that mask slip, people will see you for who you are. Don't let anybody see me for who I really am, because I don't like who I really am. So, that tells me the first step in defeating the spirit of fear is learning to love ourselves, right? If we learn to love ourselves, learn to like ourselves. Let's start with like. A lot of us don't like our own selves. Learn to like ourselves. Let go of stigmas or things that were said to us or about us as children, as young adults, as workers. Let go of things like that. Let go of the things we say to ourselves that aren't so nice. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Talk to yourself like you are. Or else you're just really telling God, you didn't do a very good job with me, and I'm not satisfied. That's exactly what you're saying. Learn to love yourself. And once you learn to love yourself, you'll learn to love others. Fear will have you protecting an image instead of walking in truth. Okay. Got 2 more talking points here. There's the fear of losing control. It will cause you to manipulate others to show that you are in control. That is deception. We don't want to be doing that. Fear will try to control outcomes instead of trusting God. What it looks like. Over-managing people or situations. Struggling to let go when you know it's over. Or when you know, let's see. You shouldn't be with that person or go to that place anymore, because it makes you do things that are not in line with God's will for your life. So you fear of letting go because there's the fear of losing control some kind of way. if you let go. Because that's familiar. You feel some sort of connection or control to whatever that is that you don't want to let go of. But that thing also causes you to do things that are not in alignment with God's will. So it can also look like you needing everything to go your way. And it looks like anxiety when things feel uncertain. And I am definitely guilty of that. Although it is a medical or neurological condition, it is also caused by, I guess, hyperactivity or just ruminating thoughts of just constantly trying to figure things out. Fear of losing control. That is the spirit of fear. I'm not going to be in control. Same thing with perfectionism. If I make a mistake, I can't correct it if I'm alive. So, control is not strength. It's fear trying to feel safe. And our last talking point, the fear of pain. Emotional walls. That's what you'll see. Fear of being hurt again creates distance, even from good things. I'm very guilty of this. And I don't tell my story so I can have, sympathy or anything like that. Like I said, I'm a very private person. I'm kind of like a loner, not because I don't like people or anything like that. I'm just a loner, by choice. A lot of people don't understand my relationship I have with the Lord, and it takes a lot of effort to explain it, to those that doubt it. Now, to those that are interested in knowing about it and wanting to develop a relationship of their own with the Lord, I have time for that. But those that just want to, ridicule and stuff, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody like that. The Lord says, do not throw your pearls at swine. Anybody that does not appreciate the gospel and what you have to say, don't bother to say anything. And those are the words that you do not throw the pearls at swine. So, because of the hurt, a lot of us, and I'm speaking of myself, put up walls around our heart. Although we're still, cordial and we're going through the motions sometimes of, relationships and the roles that we are to play in those relationships, because we all have roles that we play, whether we admit it or not. I certainly hope that a working mother is not the same at work as she is at home. We play roles. I'm not the same at work. To me, this is work. Since I am retired, I'm retired from the military, and I'm also retired from the civilian sector. So, this is my work now. When this is over, I have a different, calmer personality that people just don't believe because of who I am at work. And because I'm such a private person and I don't have many within my circle, it's easy to push the narrative that I'm this antisocial person that is just horribly mean and I'm this, I'm that. It's easy to push that narrative. That's why you have to get to know people for yourselves, folks. Whether it's a race of people, whether it's an individual, whether it's a group. Because a lot of the times the narratives that are being pushed about certain individuals, be it groups, nations, or whatever, is based on somebody's biased opinion. And it causes undue division, unnecessary division, which causes problems. You see how this stuff just continues? It's like a red herring. Emotional walls. What it looks like: difficulty trusting others, whether it's on the job, whether it's at home, whether it's going to the store. I noticed that some of the security people, they call them floaters, because I used to work in a department store. This is when I was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And Daryl was already, out on his own. So in the evenings, I worked part-time at JCPenney's. I worked in the children's department. I come home, change my uniform, put my civilian clothes on. I worked maybe about 4 hours. It was nice extra pocket change. Plus I got my employee discount. So I'd get, discount on whatever sale item was on sale. And sometimes I did 50, 60% off. I'm a big bargain person. But anyhow, why was I telling you about that? I worked at JCPenney's, trusting others. I don't know. I don't know why I was telling you that. It had something to do with trust. Gosh. I'm sorry, folks. But let's keep going. Also, it'll make you avoid deep connections. These emotional walls. And it's a natural human response to pain. But also, we have to learn to heal. Best healing is through the Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm a witness. Because I asked him to heal me. I asked him to heal my heart. It was March, the week before April 2nd, whatever date that was, 2025. I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I know you're getting ready to come back. I am watching the signs of the time. I said, but I don't feel like I'm saved anymore, even though I was, because I had not turned my back on the Lord. I had not committed any deadly sins or anything like that. I was just the people around me. I just could not stand the people around me, and I couldn't stand myself. And I knew it wasn't right. And I said, you have to help me. I know you're getting ready to come back, and I don't want to get left behind, Lord. So he came a week later. He showed up and gave me a download and cleansed my heart. I felt him literally washing my heart. And I cried an ugly cry. And my dogs were silent. That's why I know it was the power of the Holy Spirit that was in my house. Because I have some rowdy dogs. And they all 4 of them were sitting at the position of attention during the whole encounter, which lasted maybe about 15 minutes. For the entire visit, they were at the position of attention. And they normally move when I move. I can't move without my dogs moving. So I say the best remedy to heal your heart, to heal whatever broke you, it doesn't matter what you've done up to this point. That's the purpose of him coming back. He said to heal the broken, to heal the sinners, even though the Pharisees and those that sat in the religious high seats back then when he walked the earth ridiculed him and shunned him for doing that. They said, you eat with publicans and sinners and you drink, because he drank wine. They called him a drunken glutton, basically, a wine bibber and a glutton, because he enjoyed his food. And he sat with those who needed help. He talked with those who needed help. But he was shunned by the religious people because he did so. The same thing is apparent today in the false church, which I used to be a part of. So therefore, I have the right to talk about it because I was in it for a long time. And I woke up. All right, my good people. We've got two more. What it looks like. And then I'm going to tell you good night. It makes you shut down emotionally when you know you should be connecting. Sometimes it'll make you shut down emotionally from the people that you should be most close with. And I have been guilty of this also. After divorcing my son's father, I was a single parent most of my military career. And I dated. And if I got involved in a relationship and it didn't turn out right, I was in my 20s or 30s during the time when I was dating. And my son was, home with me. And if my feelings were hurt or something like that, it affected my relationship with my child because I was depressed. Yes, I still fed him, washed his clothes and all that stuff. But during those periods when I was depressed because of some relationship that I probably shouldn't have even been in, I didn't give the connection or the love or whatever I needed to give at that time because I was within myself. And I say this to you young folks because I've lived it, I've done it, and it has caused an effect. I tell you this so you don't make the same mistakes. Consider the relationships that you have, which ones are important and which ones aren't at the time. Now, I'm not saying if you're in a committed relationship and you're going towards marriage to neglect that type of relationship. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying these little fly-by-night relationships that you don't plan on having long term. You're just in it because they look good and y'all were attracted to that. It's a mutual attraction that way, and you both know it's not going anywhere. I'm talking about those. Don't neglect the kids if you're a single parent, because your heart's broken when it ends. We got to find a way to heal ourselves. If we are operating from a healed standpoint, whether we're in relationships, whether we're working on the job, or whatever, if we operate from a healed perspective, things will be a lot better. And I'm going to leave you with one little line here. You are not protecting your heart. You're imprisoning it with emotional walls. Many of the things we call struggles are actually fear, wearing a different mask. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask this. Where is fear hiding in my life? And then find a solution to fix it. And that solution is Jesus Christ. I love you guys so much. So much. And we will talk soon.